Welcome everyone to another episode of The Ultimate Client Strategy. And I'm Lisa Rosenthal, joined by my co-host Bruce Livman from the Accountants Resource Group, and today Jason Newfield, who's a disability attorney and a colleague and dear friend. So welcome. Good to see you, Jason.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody.
Jason, it has been quite some time, and I've learned a whole lot from you about how and when people should contact you. We're going to start right there, which is the place most of these conversations end, but I want to start there because you're in a very unique position to help people at a moment in time where things can be challenging and they're not sure what to do next. So would you help me start right there with who you are and what you do, and then the how and why somebody should contact you?
Sure. As a disability insurance attorney, I'm helping my clients that have insurance contracts that they've generally purchased and invested in their own health and well-being in their careers by buying these contracts, private contracts of insurance, or clients that have them through their employment, which is a cherished employee benefit that they get to protect their salaries. The challenge is that most people that become disabled will not scream from the rooftop that they're disabled. They're only going to whisper it, and it's only going to be their family, their close friends, or one of three cohorts of people that, generally speaking, will be involved in their world. Those dovetail with some of our colleagues. Accountants, the people that sell insurance, the life and health agents, as well as the financial planners. And each of those are people that they would speak to only because they have to, not because they want to. And where do I get involved, and how do I get involved? Typically, my smartest clients hire me prior to filing a disability insurance claim. They hire me when they know that they can't work any longer, and they allow me to help them navigate those claims from the outset, where I can spot the issues before they become problems. I can prevent a spill before it becomes a mess. It helps the clients to have a better chance of recovery. People talk to me that I'm an insurance litigation attorney, and that's true maybe in title, but in reality, I litigate very few cases because I get my clients paid from the outset, which is really the value proposition that I'm bringing to my clients, spotting those issues, helping them navigate the claim from the beginning, and making it a seamless transition from working to them becoming disabled and not working any longer.
That's great. And I think it sets the stage for the rest of our conversation, right? And Bruce, it's a world you are familiar with more than I am, given your history. So maybe you want to jump in here.
Actually being in the business, all right, years ago, and then being a consultant to the Guardian, actually, insurance company. Yeah, I think one of the things that Jason is right about is that most people who have the coverage, all right, and hit a problem lose because they don't have support. With Jason in their corner, they're not going to lose, all right? That's vital. Some people just figure they can't fight the insurance companies, all right? Because the insurance companies don't want to pay. They're not in the business of paying, all right? They're in the business of pushing back, all right? With Jason in your corner, nobody's going to push back. Which brings me to a question that I have for Jason. Of all the attorneys I've ever worked with, all right, and financial people that I've worked with, financial planners and so forth, how did you get into this end of the business? It's so unique. How did that happen?
So I've decided to focus my practice, the expression foot wide, mile deep, really just be subject matter expertise, although we can't use that term, in this area. The irony is that a close family member is disabled, so I've been able to see it and absorb it from that side. But it probably goes back to a cousin of mine who was in the business selling the insurance and looking to sell that insurance, and the curiosity as to the contract and the nuances. And then years later, when I joined a firm whose practice had that as one of their pieces, I was drawn to that and sort of led that area, and then took my firm in that direction when I went out on my own to start my firm and do this work for the last 25 years exclusively. And it's, I think where it really emanates from, insurance companies have a lot of money, a lot of resources, and I guess, not that I grew up on the south side of Chicago, but I certainly didn't grow up with any silver spoon, and perhaps as the younger brother, I have a little bit of that I just want to go and fight syndrome. And so I think I was drawn to that battle and helping the little people in that David versus Goliath kind of fact pattern, perhaps.
It's kind of remarkable. I mean, professionals in general, as a service provider, you bring real value to your clients. But in this case, the value is life-changing, right? It's life-changing when
Yes.
you can help somebody navigate a disability, the impact of an event that happened that's left them disabled. When somebody's world changes and, their capacity changes, to have somebody like you to navigate for them, it's monumental and life-changing.
And there's really two types of changes that I've seen over these years. There's the people who had no idea that this was ever going to happen. It was just a complete out of nowhere. And those that probably lasted longer than they should have, often the doctors, those really type A personalities, and they didn't even realize that they were operating on adrenaline and fumes for so long, and truth be told, how disabled they were doing it, maybe at people's risk.
Sure.
And then when they stopped and they were able to sort of catch up, they were like, I can't believe I did it this long. But those are the people that their identity was really driven by their work. And it's really hard for that struggle for some of them to make that sort of transition. So helping them transition psychologically too through all this experience and letting them know they're not the first or the only that has had to do that is somewhat comforting for some of those people too.
This weather that is going on across the country, it's going to cause a lot of disabilities there too.
Some ones that people won't even realize, whether it's cardio conditions or orthopedic. Sure. Well, to that interesting point, I recently wrote an article about pickleball. We're all in this pickleball craze. Well, pickleball is causing, orthopedics are thrilled, and it's going to cause a number of disabling conditions for clients or prospective clients, whether it's the orthopedic or even visual issues getting hit. So I wouldn't call it occupational hazard as much as leisurely hazards.
Sure.
Isn't it so that pickleball is now the #1 sports injury derived from pickleball?
Whether I'm lucky or not, I hurt myself long enough that I won't even try and play pickleball. So.
Oh, you pretty much, you're a good spectator.
I'm gladly referee.
Yeah, you're a good spectator and have your business cards on you at all times.
Not that I've ever wanted to be a judge, but if that's what it would take, I guess I'll do that.
Yeah, fine. Okay.
The reason why I don't like to go to litigation to the point about judges is when you leave it in the hands of somebody who's totally disassociated from the issues, it's very dangerous. And I'm going to share one experience, and we'll leave the judge nameless for my benefit, presumably, in case they're vindictive. But years ago, I was litigating a case, and I brought my paralegal to court. They had worked really hard on the case, and we had already gone through a settlement conference and tried to resolve it, and it was a lot of briefing about these cases are very intense. And the judge came down from the bench sort of to be a man of the people, so to speak. But instead of being a man of the people, the judge asked counsel and I, could we settle? We said no, and we were the two had done these cases together for 20 years. So if it could get done, it would have gotten done. The judge looked at their law clerk and said, I just don't know when I'm going to get to this case. I have so many other things outside of this judgeship that I have to do. I have this screenplay to finish, and so my paralegal, who had not had the pleasure, if you want to call it that, of being to court before, was really turned off by this process. So what I mean is when you leave it in the hands of a judge who's completely removed, you're looking for a bad result. P.S. After 13 more months, the judge had not touched the case. So I had to proverbially tell on the judge and report that judge to the administrative judge. That didn't go very well either, but I told my client beforehand how that was going to go. And so, anyway, the judge disposed of me.
I'm not sure even what that means. Disposed of you?
So I'll enlighten you.
Did
The
that
judge
hear the case ultimately?
The judge reached out and said, "Oh, I understand you reached out to the court.
Right.
Sure, we'll have oral argument in 2 weeks." 1 week later, I got a written decision, so no argument, and it was not in my favor,
Not in your favor.
and it disposed of me.
Well, does that give your client grounds to appeal?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we did, and we got a little bit of money because ultimately we resolved, but not how it should have been.
So, unfortunately, not just with what you do, I don't know, you get to a certain age and you've had enough experiences to kind of know the way things work. And all I mean by that is that they don't always work the way they're supposed to work, right? Justice is a subjective term, and the thing is that you're still dealing with people, humans, that can be unpredictable, emotional, reactive to things that have nothing to do with what's in front of them.
The space that I live in with my clients, empathy is huge. Really trying to get with and understand what they're dealing with, how they're grappling, and again, I spend time with clients and their families, and having lived some of that, it's something to appreciate, and we often will supplement our submissions with additional statements from people that really know the case. I always say you go to your doctor, we'll call it every 2 weeks, every month. What's filling in the space in those medical records? How are we doing that? How are we gapping informationally? Well, statements from the insured saying, in this 2-week gap, I've had 4 days where I was able to actually get out of bed, and those days it was only to make myself toast. Well, that would be pretty indicative of the severity of someone's impairment. And so it's often important for us to be able to figure out ways to document collaterally information that can be helpful.
Yeah, it's pretty apropos that we're having this conversation at this moment, which I won't get into too much now, but when you find yourself in circumstances that you have never experienced before, that are beyond your control, and now you have to rely on other people. You have to rely on policies that were in place to protect you. You have to rely on, people like you, Jason, who can interpret those policies and help that individual navigate, right, what comes next. It's very disheartening when you come to the understanding of that, what you thought was going to happen because you protected yourself, you put all these things in place, your employer protected you, you have a disability policy, and at the end of the day, when you need it, it's not there. Or the people that are supposed to be helping you don't help, they hurt. And you're in a diminished position, right? So you're not even at your full capacity, and you have to rely on other people. And you have to rely on the courts, and you have to rely on people that are supposed to be advocating for you that may not, right? So it's a very disheartening experience. I've had it. I've been through it. And ultimately there's an awareness where you say, oh, nobody's coming. Nobody's going to help.
People are at their weakest, well, to that point, and I think it sort of dovetails with the medical records issue. I tell my clients or anyone I talk to, nobody is going to care about your claim as much as you. And that may even include me when I'm working with them. But
Right.
And I think it really stands true for most things in life, but in my domain. And so what do I mean in specifically? Well, maybe look at your medical records and make sure they're accurate, because your doctor's not ensuring they are. And if you're relying on that, well, hope's a bad strategy. So maybe look at it if it's that important, because if you wait until it's too late, it's too late. And so I just think that's important to be guiding, and I know it sounds a bit cynical, but 30 years of doing this work has created a bunch of cynicism.
It doesn't sound cynical at all. It actually just sounds informative for folks that haven't been through a concern that would require them to rely on those medical records being accurate. So it's good advice.
Jason, you get involved in the long-term care area too.
Yeah, so we've been helping people navigate those claims, and it's such an interesting area because the cohort that's involved is oftentimes very reluctant to express that they have any infirmities. And so when we're more mature, we'll say someone in their 80s, they want to show all they can do, not what they can't do. And that runs counterintuitive to perhaps having difficulties with ADLs. Just a quick example is, tell me how you button this button, right? And so that gentleman wants to really work and do it and whatever. And I have thumb problem. I would have a hard time, but maybe with a gun to my head, I could do it. And they would say, okay, great, you could do that ADL. Well, that's not really what it should call for in any reasonable sense. Nor if somebody had a hard time tying their shoe, should they be able to just put on a strap-on shoe. No, that's not what I purchased. I purchased all items of clothing, right? So there's nuances within the contract, and then there's just the human nature side of it. The cohort that's involved is not ready to adapt to their changed circumstance, if I can say it in that way.
How do you, as the attorney, help that person adapt?
I'd rather them understand their infirmities than embrace their sporadic capabilities. Here's an example. Again, I might be able to bench press 200 pounds, but I can't bench press 200 pounds, right? Because that requires me to be able to do it. But if I had to once and someone said, we're going to do unless, you manage to have superhuman power.
Well, sometimes also I think we all think, okay, I can do that just once, right? I don't have to do it all the time. But I can manage that just once.
Sporadic capacity is not, and so I'm all about being able to do something predictably, regularly, and consistently. And I think those adjectives are important, both for long-term care and disability, quite honestly.
When somebody becomes impaired, for whatever the reason, right, and the disability insurance kicks in, or maybe that's the battle, is the policy appropriate for what's happened, right?
Sure, whether they'll accept the liability, right?
That's not the time, right, to start to fight or to update medical records or try to get doctors to, define things differently or better or accurately, maybe because it was inaccurately reported. I've had those situations as well, where my medical records don't match what's actually happened. And I've noticed it, and I've said, well, why would you write that? What? Oh, I thought you said this, I thought you said that, I thought you meant this. I'm like, I've never taken that drug, right? That's just never happened. So, whatever it is, it's no different than the long-term care situation. You don't want to wait until it's a problem before you start thinking about, what do I do now?
Yeah, there's got to be some level of self-protection, a little vigilance, and all of that. And then, with us, we consult with people regularly that we may never help.
Right.
We give free consultations so that people can be better educated. My biggest concern, because of that disparity of knowledge, is that people aren't educated enough. And so I want to educate, and again, even our colleagues, I wish they knew more to reach out, to think about when the right time frame is for people to reach out to me. Really, anytime there's an interaction with that insurance company is a touch point for me to be of probably value to them. And to protect them, at a minimum, to at least talk to me and say, if I did this, what, I'm a branches of the tree person. So we play out the scenarios and how it can go. You prepare yourself for each, and then you're probably ahead of the game. And so those people, anytime there's a company involved, even if they say, wow, that claim rep is so nice to me. Well, again, I'm a drop cynical. call me anyway. I could be extra nice to them too.
So speaking about nice, because you're a very lovely human, what are some of the things you love to do that are outside of helping other people professionally?
So being outside, so my passion that I don't get paid for is landscape design. I love it. I wish I could do more of it. I think during COVID, when we were working from home, if we want to use that word, and we were banned to our own yards, it probably reinforced that more than anything. But probably about, I want to say 10 years ago, I built my backyard and I did the entire landscape design with a pool and yards of rock and waterfall, and I just love that stuff.
Oh, wow. Did you ever done a pond with koi?
So I had my first house, I had a koi pond, and I enjoyed that, but then I wanted a pool instead. I never thought I wanted one, and then we did the pool, and now I just want to do everyone spend their money and not get paid for it.
So if anybody needs free landscape design, you're up for the challenge.
Yeah.
Free advice on disability, disability insurance, disability navigation, and landscaping, pool design. So your yard must be absolutely stunning.
It's okay. I enjoy it, although pay a lot of real estate taxes for it.
Right. Right.
But Jason just purchased something on the west coast of Florida.
Yeah, I was telling Bruce, my wife and I bought a second home on the west coast of Florida.
Well,
So originally we were looking at homes that had a pool, and now I get to design a new pool of my own and spend my own money. So I'm blessed and excited.
amazing.
Yes.
That's great news. That's great news. You know, the Northeast has some of the most beautiful landscaping. And spending so much time in Florida over the last few years, while it's beautiful and lush and tropical and, you know, palm trees are great, there is something to be said about missing hydrangeas. I miss them, right? One of my favorites of all time in every color and variety. And
I was going to ask if you had a favorite color. Okay.
I like white.
Okay.
The ones that are lime green, and I love the deep, deep, deep purple ones. I mean, I'll take any color, right? Purples, pinks, any of them. I just think they're such a beautiful flower because each flower has an individual part of the whole. So they're not all identical. And if you look at a hydrangea flower, you actually see that big ball, beautiful ball. People think it's one flower because it's one stem,
Right.
but it's not. And each of the individual flowers, it's what I always thought about it. Even as a kid, I used to draw them and paint them because each individual little clove of flower on that one stem is unique and different.
I have them in a bunch of different places in my yard, and they're all offset so that they're unique to their spot.
Sure.
It's nice. Both
There's
in my front and my back, actually.
so many varieties. Some love full sun, some live in part shade. Like there are so many varieties, but I just love them. It is one of the things I miss in Florida is some of the landscaping. Although Florida, like I said, has some pretty lush.
They have stuff and there's colors, and so yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to exploring that with great depth, actually.
Yeah, we'll have to chat. I'll give you some of my favorite Florida flowers.
Sure. Excellent.
Jason, is there anything else you want folks to know about you that we haven't mentioned and we haven't chatted about?
So I've been doing this practice area for 30 years, and it's very gratifying to be able to help people when they're struggling. But I really want people to know they need to outreach and not try and accomplish this on their own because of that disparity in information. There's a level of trust the insurance company tries to build up so they can sweep their legs out. And many, many years ago, the insurance company memo said, please get with the insured within the first 48 hours of a claim. And the obvious reason was, well, they trust you.
Sure.
And so we want to be that resource for people, helping them in this process so that they can navigate these claims. I've recovered more than $300 million for clients.
Wow, that's a big number.
I'm proud to say that I'm a thousandaire. I do have a number of thousands, but It's because the value proposition, it's not on contingency, generally speaking. It's an investment on their side for the claim that's going to return 20, 30-fold, oftentimes, of their investment. So it's just smart to understand what's at stake and then navigate it from there.
Such great advice.
Jason, what states are you licensed in to do?
So I'm licensed. I help people throughout the country because oftentimes it's a federal statute that's involved. I'm working in New York and Connecticut and Pennsylvania, but I litigate in federal courts throughout the country. When I have to litigate in another court, there's something called pro hac vice. It's a Latin term. You get admitted for that case. You have a local attorney. I've done that in courts really throughout the country over the many, many years.
That's great to know. No doubt it's worth a free consultation to have a conversation, understand your circumstances, what's possible, what should happen, what shouldn't be happening. And I hope people take advantage of your offer.
Me as well, and I thank you guys for the opportunity. It's great. I really just want to educate people about this. So thank you for creating this forum.
Wonderful. Can't wait to see pictures of your garden. And good luck with the new house.
Thanks. Me too.